With more than 8,000 hard rock miners living in Cripple Creek during its golden era, and most of them making what was considered a good wage of $3 a day, it's not surprising that the town attracted a small army of sporting ladies who set up their businesses on Meyers Avenue. One of the most notorious tenderloin districts of the early West, almost anything was legal on Meyers Avenue. If you were to walk down the street in this modern Gomorrah, you would have found over 300 prostitutes, 20 houses of ill repute, dozens of one-room cribs, and several opium dens. If you were discreet, you could get almost any drug imaginable at a Cripple Creek pharmacy, including morphine, the drug of choice for most of these women of the half-world. Not only was prostitution allowed to flourish until the 1920s, but it was actually taxed by the City of Cripple Creek at a rate of $6 a month for each girl and $16 a month for each madam. From the wealthiest millionaire to the humblest $3 a day hard rock miner, all walks of life could be found patronizing the businesses of Meyers Avenue. The life of a miner was precarious and brutal, and most of these young men worked hard in the mines and then played hard on Meyers Avenue. One of the most famous sporting ladies of Meyers Avenue was Pearl DeVere, the madam at the infamous old Homestead House. A beautiful redhead with a silky white complexion, Pearl DeVere captured the imagination of most of the men in Cripple Creek. The old Homestead House was a high-class house of prostitution whose women would charge, at that time, upwards of $250 a night. It was frequented by only the wealthiest mine owners and businessmen of Cripple Creek, and was a very modern house for the time, with electric lights, running water, a telephone, and an intercom system. One unique aspect of the old Homestead House was a viewing room where a man could discreetly choose his companion for the night. One afternoon, Pearl DeVere excused herself to her room and took a fatal overdose of morphine. Since Pearl left no suicide note, no one has ever been able to determine if it was an accidental overdose or a deliberate suicide.
And the sister come to claim the body, thinking that she had been running a millinery shop in the West, making hats. But when she looked at the death certificate and saw that she was listed as a prostitute, she had absolutely nothing to do with Pearl. Got on the train, went back to Chicago. This really upset the girls off the avenue here, and some of the miners too, because as I told you, she was very good to these people. They said they would take care of Pearl, and they started making all the arrangements. They had all the bands they could get and all the wagons and surreys and a small collection when a letter come through the mail. And it said to bury her in this beautiful gown, and there was a check for $1,000. She had one of the most elaborate funerals ever had here in Cripple Creek. She is the only one of this kind of a woman that is buried in the cemetery with a marker to her grave. And the bands were all real nice. They played all the appropriate funeral marches going out. They even played Goodbye, Little Girl, Goodbye. But coming back in, their sorrow was short-lived because they struck up very loudly. There'll be a hot time in the old town tonight.
The second old Homestead House, built after the fire in 1896, still stands on Meyers Avenue and is now a museum celebrating that unique time.